Welcome to Adjusted Reality, a podcast series trusted by the adjusted and brought to you by the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress, where we learn from athletes, celebrities, influencers, and healthcare professionals about how to optimize health in a fun, relatable way. Join me, Dr. Sherry McAllister, as we welcome former NFL player Merril Hoge. Merril Hoge played in the NFL for 8 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Chicago Bears, and a football analyst for ESPN for 21 years. Now, Hoge is an inspirational speaker impacting people and companies to grow through self-reflection and taking action to find their way. He's also on the board of the Chuck Noll Foundation for Brain Injury Research and a member of the NFL Mild Traumatic Brain Injury Committee. In 2018, Hoge helped launch Your Call Football and is the author of Find a Way, 3 Words That Changed My Life, and Brainwashed, the bad science behind chronic traumatic encephalopathy and the plot to destroy football. First and foremost, thank you so much, Merril, for joining us on Adjusted Reality today.
I'm looking forward to it, Sherry. Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to start with taking us back to the moment when you first saw football on TV at 8 years old.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what was that moment that sparked your dream?
Well, I have to paint a picture of 1973 because people can only use their own experiences to relate. So you have to paint a picture of 1973, and that picture is not everybody had a television in 1973, but if you did, it was a box about yay big, an antenna, 2 knobs, 3 channels, and no remote back then. So you had to select the right channel before you got comfortable on the couch. So that was the perspective of, and we didn't have 300 channels. There's not flat screens all over the place. We didn't have a phone that could play television and all this enormous access back then. And so it's the first time I ever saw football on television, even though I've been playing it in the backyard, and I just signed up for it that year. And when I saw it on television, I mean, it just captivated me. I was like, and I had been asked prior to this about what I wanted to do with my life, how I want, what I want to do when I grew up. So I had a lot of things spinning in my little head at the time. That question of what do you want to do with your life challenged me as a kid to think outside the box of something I would never thought of at that age. So that was going on. And so when I saw it on television, I'm like, oh, now I know what I want to do. I want to play in the NFL. I had no idea they did that. And that's where it all started. And I never lost sight of that. The journey, it's a long journey, and there are many things that didn't derail, but could have derailed, the goal, the dream, but was able to, fight through them. I almost lost my hand in a farming accident. So it was probably in that experience that I really committed to wanting to play in the National Football League, because I nearly lost my hand. And had I lost my hand, more than likely, it would have been pretty impossible to have continued to play at that level, to get to that level. And especially as a running back, just having one hand would have been extraordinarily tough. But they saved it miraculously. And I was able to function with the hand after they had done all the stuff they had done back in then, and that was like 1977. So what they did from a surgical perspective and a surgery perspective, from how they reconstructed my hand and rebuilt it and saved it, is still, I find it one of the miracles in my life that happened back then. Because if you think about, you would probably know better than I of what medicine and surgery and options were in 77 versus today. I mean, It's astronomical for what access and resources that were available. So I feel lucky.
I kind of think too, Merril, as you went through this traumatic experience, you kept referring back to football in your mind, because you set that dream. You saw that moment on TV when you were 8 years old, and then you started to reflect on this is probably what I want to do with my life. As an 8-year old, that's not an easy accomplishment because it did obviously challenge you. But then you had this extra challenge that came in and probably inspired you to say, I'm going to get better because I have a big goal ahead of you. How did you see that at the time?
Well, there's a lot of truth to that. Actually, when my hand was caught in this, it was caught in a cogwheel. So that's like, you imagine like a bike, and there's the spokes and the chain that goes around it. So imagine your hand going halfway up between the spokes and the chain in a big machine going really fast. And the first miracle is that it stopped halfway through. Had it not, it could have torn my whole arm off.
Sure.
Um, and so it was really kind of that moment that reflection of, I may never play football. I mean, if I lose my hand, I mean, I can't play it. I mean, this has robbed me of that dream. And so you're right from that perspective that, they had to have surgery, and that was a long rehab process. But that recommitment to it and that gratefulness and that gratitude that I didn't lose my hand, just gave me another perspective I didn't have at the time. And most people would never if you didn't have an experience like that, where you are fortunate to be healthy enough to go after something,
Sure.
and the value in that. And that was the start of a lot of things on my journey that helped me just grow as a person and become better as a person in the process of life and in trials and in goals and dreams.
It's so beautiful because you've had a way now to look back over a really successful career, not only in football, but also working with ESPN. And these are moments, like you said, you start a dream, which I think is really important, and you build on that dream over time, commitment, passion, and pursuit. The reason for you to get better was clear. You knew exactly what you wanted, which was, I'm playing football. And then life starts to take place. Now you have the healing process, and you go on this incredible journey in the book. And I'm telling the audience right now is, if you are kind of thinking about life as a downer, you got to read the book because it starts to bring you to a place where you become inspired. In one place in the book, and for those that are listening and not seeing this, currently he's wearing a find a way hat, which I think is brilliant because it pulls you to your current reality right now. Every day you put that hat on, it reminds you of your daughter's words, find a way. Those were powerful moments in your life. Can you share a little bit about what do those words mean? How does that inspire you? And every day that you put that hat on, I'm sure it's that adjusted reality moment of, I can, I will, I must, and here we go.
Well, there's a lot to unwrap there, and I'll do the best I can. So the words themselves have helped me live a dream and fight to live, and a lot of in between. But they were just supposed to help me live a dream. And that's where I really start with the journey. It started as a kid. I had heard, here's another impact thing in my life. In class one day, a teacher came in. She came in, she said, everybody stop doing what you're doing, put your stuff down and listen. And she talked to us about everybody has to have goals and dreams, and you need to write them down and pin them up in your room because it's where you start and end your day. So it's actually one of the most amazing things I'd ever heard as a kid. Okay. I'm like 10 years old, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I'm like, I would never thought of that. That's like brilliant, right? But I have a problem. I share a bedroom with a little brother, and we have a bunk bed. So I can't, if I put anything up on my wall, he's going to tear it down. So that's why I used to pray diligently every night he disappeared, because I didn't have my own bedroom. That doesn't mind. I don't love my little brother. I wanted my own bedroom,
For
but
sure.
I would lay in bed at night and daydream about if I had my own room, like I'd have one thing in my room I'd never seen ever. I'd want a wall of cork because I really loved that idea. That sparked a thought process with me because I had all kinds of goals. I had junior high, high school, college to attend. Every one of those I felt I was going to have to obtain a goal to get there. But every one of those steps is going to lead me to my ultimate goal, that I was going to play in the National Football League. Well, I do finally get my own room. And so I have my dad make me a wall of cork. And I remember when I walked into it in my room and I saw that wall of cork, I pinned all my goals up. And it was there that I looked at the goal I would play in the National Football League. I'd put Walter Payton up, Pittsburgh Steelers, my favorite team, my favorite player, and a symbol of the NFL. And I started revisiting all the things people had said to me at that time. Every time they'd go, "Hey, what are you going to do when you grow up?" I go, "I'm going to play in the National Football League." "Oh my gosh, you know how hard that is? Do you know what the odds of you playing in the NFL are?" "Oh my gosh, son, don't put all your eggs in one basket. We wouldn't want you to be disappointed, or that's impossible." And I started thinking about those things. And the more they weighed on me, like the heavier they became. And I then had my first like moment of truth in life, first moment of self-reflection that I can ever reflect back to, where we all have these moments of truth, okay, and moments of self-reflection. But I remember thinking, man, I didn't write that goal and put that up there to be words on a wall, man. I didn't do that. This is not going to be words on a wall. And it was really that day that I committed to that goal. And I challenged myself. I committed to myself. Whatever work was required, I was going to do it. I committed that day. Whatever odds I was up against, I was going to attempt to beat them. I was putting all my eggs in that basket because I remember thinking, man, I don't want to wake up one day or be done one day and go, why didn't I try? So if I try and I don't get it, I'll have a lot more satisfaction than being regret, having regret because um, you know, regrets forever. And it wasn't impossible because I know people were doing it. So that part of it wasn't true. But it was on that day that actually everything changed. And in that process, my energy changed. I started to get excited. I started thinking about what can I do? What should I do? And I really didn't know. And that is where the first time the words find a way would ever pop into my head. It was just like, find a way to do it. And I'll tell you this, that ignited a journey. It took me on a path. It did many things for me and still does to this day. To your point, when I put this hat on, it's still a reminder of daily things, things I'm dealing with now, things I'm trying to strive for now. Do something. I mean, no matter what your circumstance is, no matter what a goal, a dream, anybody could listen or watch in, they could come up with a goal they have, a dream they have, a deadline, a challenge, something they want to start, something they want to stop. Okay. This is true with all of that. I don't know even what they are, but this is true with it. You got to do something about it. You got to take action because I think everybody's smart enough to know what the results will be if you do nothing. So we have a responsibility to do something. And that's the first time in my life I felt that responsibility. Like it was up to me. And so I put the words and find a way on top of the wall. That became really the foundation of my journey. And it inspired me to do something about it. And so it sent me on a path. And so I first saw things on Walter Payton, found out a lot of things about him that helped me in the journey. So I even stumbled across Aristotle, which was by accident, was powerful in my journey. But it's always inspired me to do something about my circumstances, to commit to it. I think on that day, the one thing I've already mentioned, it inspired to take action. But the thing it taught me that is actually what Find a Way is really about is what's possible for people if they take ownership of their journey. And taking ownership of the journey is not easy. It can be hard, but it's not nearly as hard as running from it the rest of your life. And so many times we in life, I say we because I've been in this arena, you point fingers, you cast blame, and you make excuses. You make your day easy, but you make your tomorrow harder. Eventually, it does fall on you to take yourself to where you want to go. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have the responsibility to take ownership of your journey. When you do that, you put the trash behind you. You create new mindsets, patterns. You work through problems. You're responsible for that, and it helps you move forward. And when you develop those tools in the tool belt of life, and they can be applied at anything at any time, and you become a stronger person in the process. And that's what those words have challenged me to do, to be a stronger person, to learn how to handle things. And now this was just about achieving a goal. When I faced the darkness, that is when I really tried to find or found out more about myself. Being diagnosed with cancer was the darkest. The end of my career, laying in intensive care for days and near losing my life. Starting my life over, losing my NFL career. That was dark moments. So I learned more there about taking ownership and digging yourself out. Then I really learned on the journey of setting a goal. But both of them are instrumental in the development of me. And they still come back to one thing. You're responsible for your journey. take ownership of your journey, your mindset, your choices, your patterns and habits, all are going to be deployed on where you want to go in life. So I'll just leave with, I'll wrap it up with this. Aristotle, principle of my journey, foundation of the journey. I ran into a quote on accident, but it resonated with me as a kid and it still does to this day. But the quote is, we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit. The first time I read that, I remember the truth in that. Like, you just take inventory of all the things you do, it tells you who you are. Now, the power in that is that means you have the choice to create the patterns and the habits of what you want to be. So let's say you like the path you're on. Well, man, build on it. Don't be stagnant. That is a quicksand of life. You got to continue to evolve, challenge yourself, grow and evolve. Don't be stagnant. If you don't like the path you're on, man, you can change it. And that was the power in it, the truth in it. Like, and excellence doesn't stumble out of bed. Nobody just stumbles out of bed and becomes excellent. But man, you can work at it. And so that, like, again, it's you're responsible for the journey. And all these things are yours and that you're responsible for. And that should be exciting to people. Sometimes it weighs people down because they have to do the work. And if you don't want to do the work, then don't be disappointed. You know,
That's
it's pretty
exactly right.
simple.
And I find this where you started, which made me reflect on many things that I've heard over time on adjusted reality, is people that hear your goal are not necessarily going to be supportive. And you're right. You said something really poignant, which is, son, we don't want you to be disappointed. Don't put your eggs all in one basket. It's really rare that you can become an NFL player. Like, this is like the best of the best, like only the cream of the crop. And who do you think you are? And those things can stick if you want them to stick. But you went the step further and said, what? How did you get out of those icky, sticky, wicky conversations that sometimes you almost start to believe because you hear it over and over again? Son, being an NFL player is rare. You'd be very lucky from where you are today to get where you want to go. What did you do? Like, I love the cork board. And then I want to get back to obviously going through the dark time, because I think many of us have to figure out that piece. But let's start with the light. How did you get through these negative pieces at such a young age?
I stopped telling people about my dreams and goals. I
Aha.
stopped talking about them.
I love that. Okay.
And
And
that was
and
that's
tell
the
us
best thing I
more
ever
about
did.
what that did for you when you stopped and you reflected on the wall versus another human being reflecting back. That's impossible.
Well, on that day, when I made that commitment to myself, I was like, you're the one that matters. Notice there's going to be people help you on the journey. I've already mentioned Aristotle, Walter Payton, Chuck. I mean, I'm a product of a lot of people. I didn't do this by myself, but I kept it to myself. And that was important in the journey, that I didn't want to hear some unsolicited feedback that was negative or derogatory, a part of the journey. And the more that you function, within yourself in things like this, the less distractions that you get, and the results will speak for themselves. And that was my ultimate thinking. Like, listen, when I got diagnosed with cancer, I can see why some people want to keep that quiet.
Sure.
And here's why. When I was diagnosed, I didn't keep it quiet. I was at ESPN at the time, and so it become very. I mean, I did the draft bald, and I was going through treatment, and it was interesting how everybody wanted to share a story of somebody that had had cancer. For the majority of the initial time, every story led to death.
Oh,
And it got so overwhelming that I was just like, when somebody would start a story, I'd actually stop them. I'd say, listen, if this does not end up good, I would just rather not hear it, because I wanted to control what kind of feedback I was getting and what kind of things I was hearing. And I never wanted to hear that. Now I understand that that's a pure perspective and a reality to things, but I didn't need that to be reestablished every single day. And every time somebody went to share a story with me, because then that's another part of your energy that's taken from you that you got to rebuild out of. I already understood that when somebody told me.
Sure,
I
sure.
had a 3-pound
That's
tumor
kind
when I
of
was
the
there.
beautiful thing that you're bringing full circle is as a young person you learned it is you're hearing these naysayers, and then as an adult you're hearing it again. Why fill your head with the energy that created the problem? And you love Aristotle. I personally happen to have my own love affair with Albert Einstein, which it gets to a point where it's really about physics. It's the energy. It's what you want to put out there, match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. That's where I think you went on a journey of I want to hear what I want to hear, which is positive. I want to do what I want to do, which is take responsibility, the ability to respond to my dreams. Take me through the dark time because I know this is where you learned a great deal of who you are today and why you're standing on stages all across the world talking to patients, people, and corporations about where do we begin and how do we get there. So tell me through the dark times. What are the things that you learned the most?
Well, the one where it really started was my career had just gotten cut short in Chicago. I was, I had improper care of head trauma that led to my career ending situation where because this happens in the locker room, most people don't know about it. Had it been on the field, everybody would have probably remembered it. It would have been documented and replayed and revisited when other things have happened in recent history. But I went into cardiac arrest. They took me to intensive care where I ended up staying. They resuscitated me. I went to the hospital's intensive care for several days. And I had to learn how to read again. And I went through severe depression. I nearly lost my life. My career got ended. Um, and it was all because of improper care. Now, the improper care was I'd played a Monday night game against Kansas City and had a severe concussion. Now, when I say severe, I got to explain what severity, there's only two signs of severity. Losing consciousness is not a sign of severity. Losing consciousness is just a symptom of head trauma. And the best way to explain that is once you regain consciousness, it's no longer an issue. You regain consciousness. And once you stay conscious, well, then what do we evaluate? We're not evaluating you staying conscious. You stayed conscious. So you look at two things, cognitive recall, and there's a lot within that, and stability, and there's a lot within that. Okay. That we do a much better job of evaluating that we have access today. Now, this happens in 1994. I got cleared over the phone to return back to play 5 days later, being asked one question: how do you feel? And it was a family practitioner, not even an expert in the field of the brain. So, there was a lot of disconnect there, a lot of mistakes that happened. The care and the overall treatment at that time was archaic, even in 1994.
Sure.
Now, that being said, so that's what got me into pointing fingers, casting blame, and making excuses. How the Bears made a mistake like that, how the doctor made a mistake like that, how the NFL could allow them. I had everything, and rightfully so, to point fingers, cast blame, and make excuses. I sat on a couch. I got darker and darker every day. Couldn't have been more depressed. And it was another moment of truth in life where I was repeating everything. I was making my day easy, my tomorrow harder. That's why I know it so well. I was laying on the couch about a month into this, and I was like, nobody's coming here to get you off the couch. You know that. You have responsibility. And listen, I only had a glimmer of hope. These words again would stimulate, you need to do something. Nobody's coming here to get you off the couch. Were there people who reached out to help? Yes, but they're not coming to get you off the couch. They're not going to make you do anything. We can't make people do anything.
That's right.
We can help and assist once they have decided to take action. Then people do become important, and they were critical. I could give you loads of people who were instrumental in helping me in the process, but I was responsible to make the first step. And that's oftentimes some of the biggest issues with really cognitive issues is that you get in the darkness and you stay there and you won't take any ownership of the journey. You think somebody's going to come rescue you or get you off the couch, and that's just not going to happen. You have to do that. Now, it was about a 5-year journey out of that, but that whole processing was instrumental in helping me solidify just how important it is that you're responsible for your journey. We all are. We're going to have people help us along the way, which I've had loads. But you're going to do the work. Nobody wants your dreams and goals more than you, and nobody's going to do the work for the deadline or challenge you face. You got to do that, and you take ownership of that. Man, there's power in that too. There's things that are rewarding. You know, they don't give you an award for it, but they do. You are rewarded. You know, the peace that comes from that, the joy and the happiness, that is priceless. You can't
It
put a
really
price on
is.
that, and it even help you with your own profession. You know, feeling good and being successful in that. It's you're well rewarded in many ways that is satisfying and satisfactory. It's when you do nothing that disappointment comes, and we have that choice. And to get people to just make that choice in their life is not easy. You can't make it for them, but man, if you can inspire and give them some tools to help them with that process, they might be just missing the one thing, the challenge that they need. You know, when I got diagnosed with cancer, I am in a dark space. All I think of was chemotherapy and dying. I lost my mom when I was a young kid. I got kids. All I'm thinking of is losing a parent, how it wreck a home, changes lives. And if my kids, I'm not around for my kids, and they're 7 and 9, and it just a tornado of awful emotions. And then after I told my kids, you know, I was going to be sick, bald, laying on a couch, and there was no certainty it was going to work. It was my daughter who just climbs up my lap and she says, "Well, then you know what, Dad? You better find a way." And I was like, "Oh my God!" I mean, I've been using this as a parenting tool. And a 9-year-old gets up and you know, like it was the perfect person. It was presented in the perfect way because right then, man, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." Changed me. My energy changed, focus changed. Dying wasn't an option. Being sick and tired, not an option. Going bald was going to be an option. But man, my energy changed. Talk about a moment of truth. Walk in my office where I start and end my day. I just written down all my goals. I get diagnosed on Valentine's Day,
Oh.
2003. Tear them all down. I write down one. I write down in red, I will destroy non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I stick it on the wall. I open myself up. I commit. I decided to live versus survive, and I picked the wrong guy. And when I did that, man, I mean, I had to walk the plank. I'm not getting out of that. And I got a 2-year battle, man, but man, it was a different world with the change of this. And I'm grateful for that. They have these words have done wonders for me. And I just try to get people to, take what moves you. It doesn't have to be these words, it can be anything, what moves you, what will get you going, but use something to
Yeah.
get you moving. If you're struggling, and if you're building or if you're doing well, build on that. Don't be stagnant because that is the quicksand of life.
That's right. What doesn't grow dies. And what I really like about how you're laying this out is there's a moment and it'll capture you. And you have to decide, is this the moment I'm going to push harder, or is this the moment I'm going to give up? And that's a place where everybody listening today can be inspired by their own strength when they dig deep and failure becomes something that is not on the playing field. That's not the option. I'm going to win. And the best part of what I've heard you say is you win even when you fail because you've done something. Like you may not get exactly the goal for you. It was like you had the beautiful map. Like, can you believe as a little kid and you get the cork board and you put up Pittsburgh Steeler, NFL player, and then you move into being an ESPN for 21 years. Your dream was mapped. You won. And then you start to get this moment in your life where you reflect, these are hard times. I need to start winning again. I need to start being able to put in power what brought me here in the first place. Because when you do nothing, you get nothing. And what inspired you to move is that obstacles will come and where you will have to face that impossible obstacle. And for you, that first thing that inspired you was find a way out of a beautiful angel in your life. Literally, like, I'm going to sit on your lap. You're going to hear these 3 words, and your life will be changed and you will conquer and you will be a warrior. I think those are really impressive moments. You've also had clearly both the mentally and physically challenging moments that come with a head injury, but you were such a consistent NFL player throughout your years. Like as I read in the introduction, there's very, very few players who could stand up and say, I've not only been an NFL player, I did 8 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Chicago Bears. I had hundreds of games under my belt, 122, if I remember correctly, consecutive NFL games. That's masterful. And you said excellence is a habit. Every day you do what you do. Can you walk me through just a little bit from a physical perspective on how did you keep so consistent at that level?
Well, this is another lesson learned by somebody that I idolized. I was a kid. Walter Payton, I told already that he was my favorite player. And I explained that moment of truth where the words find a way came to me, really struck me, and they inspired me, they gave me hope, and they inspired me to take action. Okay, so part of this, I said I stumbled across Aristotle. Well, I actually stumbled across Aristotle when I went to the library looking for things on Walter Payton. That's how I stumbled across Aristotle.
Love
I
it.
tell people I'm a C student. So that's why if you just use that, it clears everything up for you. Like who goes to the library and stumbles across Aristotle and you're looking for Walter Payton? Me. I
Love
go
it.
there for one reason, and that is to find out, going back to this is 1977. Okay, so it's not the piece of glass doing this was not even thinkable back then. Again, TV's limited to access, 3 channels. You had to go to the library to find information. So I went to the library to discover what I could about him, even though I knew some things about him. I find nothing that I didn't already kind of know. But a few years later, he puts out a tape called Winning in Life. And he's going to talk about 3 things: charity work, family life, and how he trains. This also paints a picture of when this was. It's a VHS tape. So there'll be a lot of people listening to this going, what's a VHS tape? Or watching going, what's a VHS tape? Okay, well, ask somebody what that is. They'll explain it. But it's a big old tape. You plug it in. I'm scrolling through it. And I didn't realize an interview process existed in this tape. And so I stopped it and I played it right there at the interviewer. Interviewer asks him, first question, what makes you better than everybody else? And I was like, oh my gosh, if I had one shot, that's what I want to know. Now, I don't just assume everybody knows who Walter Payton was. So let me set that scene. When he did this tape, was the all-time leading rusher in the NFL. Pound for pound, he's the greatest player to ever play, still this day. This is all he said about him. He's not the biggest. He's not the strongest. He's not even the fastest. He's just the best. I'm a kid. When I hear that, I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody bigger, stronger, and faster than me seems to be better than me. How is this cat not the biggest, strongest, or fastest? And he's the best in the world. How is that? Well, after he was asked what makes you better than everybody else, he said something as profound as I've ever heard a human being say it. He paused for a second and he looked at the interviewer and he said, I want it more than they do every single day of the week. He said in the off season at 7 o'clock in the morning, when I go run that hill, 80 yards up, 40 degrees and sand based, I want it more than they do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. During the season when there's not 65,000 fans in the stands, cameras are not rolling everywhere, cheering for us. I want it more than they do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Then Sunday at 1 o'clock, when you get to see me, man, you better believe I want it more than they do. Man, I hit pause and I'm like, holy cow, I can. I like, there's not a soul sitting in or listening to this can't do that, because you know what it is? There's 2 things. You got to want something. That's important. That's a great start. But then a relentless commitment to it. That's a pattern and a habit and a choice that anybody can apply it to whatever they're seeking for or striving for, no matter what it is. It's not about just sports. It's about life. It's about passions and things that are you relentlessly committed to it, though, every single day, every single day. Because I remember after that, I was like, I'm going to do that every day. Like there's not Fridays when everybody's going on a kegger and going up. I'm working out. I'm not going on that. On Saturday, I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm doing this. When I practice, I play, I train every single day. And that bled over into life. That bled over, and it became a tool so that you can actually deploy it at anything you want. It's a wicked tool if you learn how to develop it and apply it. But it's that relentless commitment that edges people out. It could be the difference between you and your competitor. I've experienced that so many times. I share one particular story. I'm not going to bore you with it, but so many times it was the difference between me and my competitor. I'm telling you, is the one thing that helped me make the Pittsburgh Steelers my rookie year. I was last on the depth chart. We had 10 running backs ahead of me. 4 of them had experience in the National Football League. And I'm going to tell you this, it was a relentless commitment to be great at everything. First down, second down, third down, every single day, not just one day, morning practice, afternoon practice, not 6 days, not 4 days a week, 6 days a week, every single day. And that, I'm telling you, it becomes a powerful tool. You can, I don't care who you are, you can develop it.
Every
You can
day.
develop and you can deploy it. And it's a powerful thing to have. It's a great thing to have. It gives you strength, quite honestly, especially when you see the rewards from it and you see how it does separate you and make you and get you to where you want to go. And to add one thing on your, when you said, not everybody achieves all their goals, but you do experience on the journey, you discover things you would never have come across had you not gone down that path. So in a lot of ways, Sherry, like I feel like I've never really not accomplished something. Have I not accomplished the goal I was going after? Yes. But I discovered something that was far better. Um, or I would never have experienced had I not taken the journey. And so I'm like, good, I'm kind of rewarded no matter what. So, but it all
That's
comes into
beautiful.
doing something, taking the journey, doing the work, being committed to it.
Because you don't know, you'll be walking, the proverbial journey is you're walking along and you can see the summit, but you start the descent after you've hit the summit and all of a sudden you kick a rock and that rock happens to be a masterful gem and you will never forget it because you wouldn't have gotten it had you not summited. And oftentimes just getting the goal, that's just not the goal. The goal is the journey, and the journey is beautiful. You treated your body with the utmost of care too. And I know that that's one of the things many people don't recognize is that to be who you are and to be this consistent, there was a respect that you gave your body to be able to perform at peak. And I would love this generation of young listeners that are looking to, maybe they want to be an NFL player, maybe they want to be, the best architect in the world. There's a journey there for you, but there's also a reality. And that reality is if you don't take care of the gifts you're given, those gifts can't perform at peak. Tell me about how you cared for your body. Tell me the respect that you gave it, because you said something really powerful when they were going out drinking and doing the kegs. I wanted it more. I tasted it more. I believed in myself. I want this goal. I'm getting this goal, but it means I love my body. I know what I need to do for my body.
Well, actually, Sherry, I very seldom wander into the depths of this because it never comes up. But I've been asked occasionally, like, what was like, I think often people think football was my number one passion, which it was second. It was second to my passion of creating a body, a healthy body, and it turns into that. But here's where my first passion became my health and building muscles. And it was I saw a comic book and I saw like Superman, Batman, and they had all these muscles, and I was like, how does this happen? Like, how do they get those muscles? And I became intrigued by it. I became like, and this is before protein drinks, protein bars. I mean, I remember I was around 11. I'd been exploring this. Now, listen, this is if you had a universal set in your gym, like you had the best gym in the world. So, okay, this is how far back we go. So, a universal set where all of the machine,
Yep.
all the exercises are on one. Okay, and very limited, by the way. Like you had a gym, and I used to get a hall pass to go to the bathroom to go to that universal set and do a set of a bench press and military, and you really couldn't squat in it. I don't remember you could squat in it, so you couldn't really lift your legs or do the proper things with legs. That being said, amino acids weren't even around because I remember when amino acids came out, I was, this is the limited information we had. I bought amino acids and thought that was the big difference. And there's the chain of aminos and all these building proteins that works all together that you didn't know back then. but it became a passion of mine to invest in my health. Now, what I have learned, I'm going to fast forward and then back up. What I eventually grew in and evolved to, you just mentioned all kinds of different crafts and professions. Here's what I can tell you about that. The better you invest in yourself, the better health you have, the better you take care of yourself, the better you will be at your craft. I don't care what it is. And I am not even talking about sports. I mean, you just mentioned an architect, period. You'll be a better architect. You're going to be a better human being. And the value that you're going to get from your overall health. Maybe it's just, you just enjoy life better because you're healthier, you're stronger, you do more things. But I had three situations in my life where my overall health saved me. I remember being diagnosed with cancer. I'm not going to bore you with all of the 14 days of testing and everything. And I thought my doctor told me, he goes, you know what? Two things probably saved your life: early detection and your overall health. If you don't have your overall health, he goes, I don't think you could withstand what you're about to go through. That being said, you can't run down to Target and pick it up. You need it at all times. So invest in it at all times. And this is the most powerful way to stay healthy. And nothing has defeated this. It is undefeated. Okay. Lifestyle. Diets don't work because once you're done with the diet, you go back to what? Your lifestyle. Create a healthy lifestyle, something that is sustainable and that it becomes what you do naturally. You live in it, you function in it, you enjoy it. And when you can do that, then you're gonna benefit. You're gonna be benefiting. You're gonna have great value that you have it at all times and access to it at all times because you never know where you're gonna need it. And three times it has saved my life. And I wouldn't have had time to try to invest in it to go with what I was going to go through. But because I had it, it helped save my life.
So inspiring because we just adjusted our reality for our listeners is they all think NFL player, ESPN has everything, did everything. It probably came easy to them. And look at what you had to go through. And no one really talked to you about what's your number one. And I'm with you. Like when I saw Superwoman, I just wanted to be like, how do you get there? I want to have the outfit and the energy and the lifestyle of a superhero. You don't get that superhero lifestyle by drinking beer and laying at the pool. Doesn't work that way.
So,
It is exactly just how you got your goals for becoming an NFL player. It's that lifestyle of living habits where or can get more information, like going to the library, possibly ending up with Aristotle rather than your NFL player. It's okay because when you investigate and you listen to podcasts like Adjusted Reality, Merril went through a journey with us. And I just want to say thank you for being who you are and being so authentic and so real and so talented. I want to ask you one last question in that I know you've had a lot of lessons from football and life journey. There are people that are suffering today and they've sat on their couch in the dark times and they're hearing the words, but they're not quite there yet to take that action. And they know that no one's going to come and save them from the couch. I want you to dig really deep, Merril. And I know you've done a really, really good job today of sharing how the journey that you've been on and the experiences that you've had made you the better person and found the gems. If you could just close our podcast today with a moment of reflection where you've gone back into the past and you could help that person who's suffering right now, what would you say to do today?
well, actually, I've already mentioned it a couple different times. It is the most powerful thing I've ever learned. It's the most powerful thing I've ever executed. And that is taking ownership, taking responsibility of your journey, where you want to go, what you want to do, and what you want to be. Eliminate the noise. Social media is a great example of this. If you are opening up your social media page to look at likes and find out who's commented, um, you're their prisoner because people who comment and people who like probably don't even know you. They don't know anything about you. So why would you put value in that? The value starts with you. And if you can get young people, a lot of people to understand, okay, that you're the most important person in the entire world. And that isn't being arrogant and selfish and like, oh, it's about me. It's about, but you need to invest in you. The more you invest and the better you invest, the better you are to serve others, the better you are to care for others, the better you are at your own craft when you invest in you. Uh, another experience that really helped me understand that, when I had kids, my daughter, and I'm like, my first week, I was like, I've been changing diapers and running around here. I ain't worked out. I'm like, what am I? I'm like, holy cow. I was like, well, wait a minute. If you want to invest in you, you better get up a little earlier. So that's when I started getting up at, 5 and 6 and training and taking care of me. And what I found out, man, when I took care of me, I was a lot better dad, because before that I was like, it's 5 o'clock. I haven't worked out. I'm frustrated. Now I'm getting angry, and my patience are getting less because I haven't taken care of me. And once I started to do that, I was good all day, because I'd take care of me, and you just be more productive. You'll be happier. You'll be more peaceful. Now, things that you can't go buy at a grocery store or at a Target or a Walmart. I mean, things that are sustainable and they last. And it's not easy. I'm not suggesting it's easy. But once you start to do it, and once you repeat it, and every day your 2 feet hit the ground and you execute that every single day, you build on that, one day it just becomes you. One day you look back and, man, if you were in a bad state, you're like, you know what? I mean, I dug myself out of that. I can dig myself out of anything. But you have to start somewhere, and you had to take that initial step. Don't think of it in 30 days. Don't think of it in 60 days. Don't think of it as a year. Think of it as a day, just today. My 2 feet hit the ground. It's going to be different today. Here's what I'm going to do to help me. Here's what I'm going to do to grow. That's going to be better for me. And then you execute the day. Next morning, you get up, build on that. And then pretty soon you get momentum. And next thing you know, life has changed for you. And you've evolved, and you're rewarded for the things that you have done. And there's not a soul that can't do that, but it's about starting.
Man, that inspires me to just say, we're all going to evolve. We're going to listen to this podcast, maybe listen to it a couple times, and recognize that every step we take is a step forward. If you step backwards, it's still going to be another day where you can step ahead. So with that, I want to thank you extremely, Merril. I mean, you're changing people's lives every day around the world. And that's a super honest, authentic responsibility that you've taken on. And I can't thank you enough for being with us today and sharing your reality that for many listening today just became adjusted. So thanks so much, Merril, for being with us today.
My pleasure, Sherry. Thank you very much.
Well, I want to thank you for tuning into Adjusted Reality as we spoke to Merril Hoge. And you learned a lot about not only his football career, but how he invested in himself for his health. And as chiropractors, oftentimes you can go to them, talk to them about investing in your health. You don't have to have a problem to get there. You can start investing in preventing or optimizing your performance. And that's a big key about where Merril came from. Remember, he said patterns, habits, and choices, they're ours to make. And by you listening today, you can make patterns and choices for you that will make tomorrow a better day, but reflect today is the day to make those choices and put your 2 feet on the ground. Invest in you. And also, I also think what he said about social media, don't listen to others and how they see you. Listen to yourself and how you feel, how you strengthen your resolve, and that you want to be the best you can be. Put those goals up, make them happen. Now, this podcast was brought to you by the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. We know life moves pretty fast, and we want to make sure you never miss an episode. So visit f4cp.org/adjusted reality. You can subscribe to our newsletter. Now, if you're interested in hearing from a specific guest, well, just let us know. We would love your guest recommendations. Now, don't forget to subscribe and share the podcast with your family and friends. And we'd love you to rate and review. And if you're feeling so inspired to learn more about chiropractic or to find a doctor of chiropractic near you, you can visit f4cp.org/find a doctor. If you want to supercharge your whole being, well, our brand new book, Adjusted Reality, comes out on October 14th. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can click the link below in the description of this episode and you can get your copy today. We appreciate your support and look forward to checking in with you again soon.